our topic today. How to talk about the goal of a business, and IT people tend to avoid this like the plague
Yeah.
because IT people have this. I don't know if arrogance is the right term, but they think they know what the business needs to know.
Mhm.
I think Skip, you had a large argument with somebody or a discussion with somebody at a conference
Oh,
recently
yeah.
about, oh, I know what the business needs. I'm like, really? Because man, I've been studying this stuff all my life, and I don't know what the client needs. I have to ask them. you know, how can you walk in generically to a client and say, I know what you need to buy?
Yeah. And it is
And
a weird dynamic because, we were talking with another MSP. It's been several months ago now. And I got the feeling they really their expectation was that we had a tool, some sort of asset, some sort of port scanner. I don't know that you could, install, pull the big lever, and it would say, this business needs this. And it would define all these business goals. And I was really kind of shocked that they could even think that. I mean, how do you know what different organizations really need? My standard story on that is an oil field service company that I had the opportunity to work with. And I'd actually been engaged with this business for a significant portion of my life. Some family friendships and all, people had worked there. So I knew well about this company. And then I'd done my own stint in oil and gas and felt I'd learned a lot, kind of went from soup to nuts and all of that. And so I sat down with this organization one time and I'm like, all right, we're going to do this. I'm going to map these things out. And I've got all these ideas in my head. And the conversation went on, and, it was an hour long SWAT session that we're actually doing with them. And at the end of it, I was just so stunned at all the stuff that I didn't know because this company was really unique. I mean, I was totally blown away that they had equipment that was literally 100 years old that they were maintaining. And I was like, really? That I didn't even know that stuff went back that long. And they're like, yeah, we've got some of these, we got new parts and pieces on it, but at the core of it, this thing was cast, way back when. And I was just floored at some of this stuff. So without really having a conversation with an organization, you have no idea what their goals and what their challenges really are. You've got to break that down individually.
yeah, you don't know what you don't know. And I know that's a cliche phrase, but it's a cliche for a reason. Because it's right. You don't know. Like if you walk into a client thinking you understand everything without having had a conversation with them, you're falling into a trap of arrogance,
Yep,
of
absolutely.
blindness.
Yep.
It's like a teenager. Teenagers think they know everything. We all think like we're much
Oh,
wiser as teenagers.
yeah.
But then life smacks us upside the head and says, look, there's a lot of this that you didn't know and a lot of lessons you need to learn to say, you know what, that's a bad idea. Because now like, I can't just simply do X. I can't just simply exist. I have to live with deliberateness. And so you see people who have this wisdom where they learn from mistakes and they ask for advice and they lean on mentors to develop themselves. And so a teenager can say with confidence, like, I'm doing the right thing because they haven't seen the consequences of that action yet. Same thing with a grade schooler. A grade schooler can say, I'm going to play with the fire. It's never hurt me before.
Yeah.
And so they start throwing things in the fire, and then one day they burn themselves, and now they know not to do that again. And so when it comes to talking to businesses or even friends or clients, you got to say, let me learn from them because there's a unique situation here and they're probably really interesting. And if I can learn from them, maybe I can apply some of my experience to what they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so this synergy is like when I'm sitting there and I have a friend and I break the friendship because I neglected it. I didn't nurture them. I didn't call out to them, say, hey, let's go out and get a beer sometime. And we just kind of drifted apart. And I know that happens. And so you got to nurture friendships. We got to nurture business relationships too. You got to say,
Yes.
hey, I'm going to come in and touch base with you guys. I want to hear about what's going on with your company. Tell me about yourselves. And then in your head, you're like, oh my gosh, you're trying to do a roadshow this year. Yeah, your firewall is not your network is not set up for remote access at that
Right.
level. We
Yep.
need to help you get it more into the cloud. We need to actually implement a couple things, and it'll help this roadshow be much more successful. And now you've learned. You thought that they were just producing widgets and producing oil, and it turns out this year they're doing a roadshow, and they were going to have a very frustrating time, and they're going to be calling you saying, "Hey, why can't we get into our systems? Why is this
Yeah.
bogging down? Why are we so frustrated?" And so sitting down with your client saying, "Tell me about yourself. What are you doing? What makes you great?" And then taking those 10,000 solutions in your head and paring them down to, "Oh, did you know you could do this?" Because your client has things they don't know either. They think they're using all the technology appropriately. They don't know that there's this fancy new application or widget or hardware that will do 60% of what they're trying to do for half the cost.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is something that you have to bring to the table. But you don't get that if you both are making assumptions. If they're assuming they know everything about technology and you're assuming you know everything about their business.
Yep. And I think, businesses are unique. That's one reason why there are so many of them, is so many people have their own unique skill sets, their own unique relationships and customers that they're driving in on. And yes, there's going to be industries that you can get into and you can broaden your skill set so you have a better kind of template for things that show up. But there is always going to be that really unique element that you need to understand. And you've probably encountered this already. We were working with a customer one time, and it was a kind of a dental manufacturing, and so you're thinking, oh, they're making dentures or something like that, and so you immediately kind of put them in a bucket. But the conversation went on, and no, this company actually has an R&D department, and while it may seem on the outside like kind of a small company, this was actually a global organization based out in the middle of nowhere. And it was just kind of one of these surprising deals. And, out of the blue, in talking and kind of gathering information, I was getting the education. Fortunately, the account management team had already done a lot of this. And so I was coming up to speed and listening. And so I was very surprised to understand that we needed to be really, really diligent about securing their network, because they were fighting a very poignant intellectual property battle with overseas aggressors, people coming in and actively hacking, targeting their specific network to steal intellectual property to replicate this, dental stuff that they'd done. And that just kind of blew me away. And then you start doing a little digging, like, oh wow, yeah, behind the scenes, this is a really important player in their industry. And you would have never gotten to that point by just having casual conversations, just going in, hey, we're going to replace PCs, we're going to do patches and updates. You had to sit down and work through that. What is your concerns? What keeps you up at night? What are your challenges? And really digging into that, and then developing appropriate technology solutions and projects to support that.
Yeah, I think that methodology you just kind of described is something like to go back, because Skip and I both have teenagers. And
Mm.
so you watch them make decisions, and it's based upon the data they have at hand.
Yep.
And it's a very small and narrow set of data. And so it should work. I mean, this makes absolute sense. If I do this and this and this, then this is going to happen. And there's a bigger picture to be had. And you get that bigger picture by working with people and understanding their scope, because they are unique. This teacher is unique. This employer is unique. This scenario is unique. And unless you're talking back and forth, you're not going to come up with that really great solution. Like it talks about the SWOT scenario. They had a discussion. They sat in a room and just had a discussion that was guided around the business and what they're doing. And they've got all these great minds sitting in the room, all have their own expertise. And they're like, okay, here's where we can go. And you end up with something really cool. And so when you're young, you're focused on self, and then your prefrontal cortex develops, and you start thinking about introspection and self. How can I be better? What is it my brain is doing? And then when it comes to a business, I feel like there's this moment in an engineer's life where they've been fixing products and they know their products really well, but then this other business mind starts developing, like context.
Mm-hmm.
And context starts getting applied. Business context. It's like the prefrontal cortex developing in junior high. And suddenly you're like, oh, so there's a business impact to what I am doing. Duh. However, what is the profit center impact to what I am doing? How am I helping these guys in the oil field have their job be done better? What is the goal of the company this year? And is there technology or are there solutions I can provide that help them augment their goal? But if you never know what that goal is, if you never know the context, you will feel 100% secure that you are doing the right thing and the right thing is happening because the lights are on.
Yep. And that's it. I mean, you've got to understand why are they going to use this technology? I mean, is it just because, hey, everybody has a file server, that used to be the way, all right? Or everybody has, some sort of hosted file solution now, whatever it is. So you need one too. Okay, they probably do. But how are they going to use that directly? What is the path from that technology solution to the business application? And then what does it do to their bottom line? Is that actually going to help them make money? Or are they just going through the motions? The regulatory deals. There are some regulatory things that they just have to do it. It's a difficult lineup, but it still impacts the bottom line because if they don't have that regulatory approval, their business doesn't function the way it's supposed to, and they don't make any more money. So,
and sometimes we see that regulatory
down.
approval as, oh, it's just red tape I need to get through. And it's like, no, that regulation exists because 6 people died a year because they did not observe these safety measures out in the field.
Yep.
So now we have this in place because, yes, you haven't died from this, but because we have the regulations in place and we've learned that there is a better way to do this, you won't die. You'll be always able to say that we were too cautious. You'll never have experienced the issues out in the field. And so those conversations add that context and that wisdom to what you're doing. You can install that firewall. That's fantastic. But I'm here to tell you, as somebody who used to be like an architect level firewall like implementer, when I started thinking, what is this thing going to enable my end users to do? I completely restructured my firewall and how things worked with it. Completely changed. Like I could install a 40 gig, 200 firewall, and it did not take me much time. Put it in an HA, I was done, move on to the next thing. But once I started realizing that the impact of IPS on a mid-tier, or when I started realizing that backups and SQL queries are taking longer, I said, okay, so what is the risk reward of me doing an IPS at this tier? Can I do a lighter version of this to help my SQL developers have a faster business process? Is it worth the risk? If we're making an extra $40,000 a day, is that worth the risk of a mid-tier attack?
Yep.
And I can talk to the CFO about that. I can talk to the CEO and say, hey, look, I can make this faster, but we open ourselves up to injection attacks if somebody were to get inside our network. Well, what are the chances they get inside our network? Well, here's what's going on. And we have this discussion together as a group because they don't know. And then all of a sudden, we are able to say, we have a better solution now. Yeah, I put the best practices in place as an engineer, but then as an architect, as somebody who is business minded, I put the best practice for the business in place now.
Yep.
And now I'm a hero. And now I'm thinking wiser. So when you're in high school, as a guy, you see a pretty girl, and you're like, I want to date that girl.
Yeah.
And you, after some time, realize that there are some girls that are very attractive who are absolutely crazy.
Yep,
Same thing with
absolutely.
guys. There are some
There's a
guys
scale
who are
out there, I think.
attractive. You don't even want to be in the same room as that guy. You
Yep.
know, and so you learn this lesson. You learn like, okay, watch for the crazy flag first,
Yep.
and let's find somebody who actually enjoy being around, and then let's work together to form a life. And how can we benefit each other? How can we develop a marriage? And how can we do this? So you start thinking more maturely about relationships. Same thing with engineering. Yes, you can just install that firewall. Yes, all they need is that PC dropped on their desk and then you can walk away. Or you can say, hey, what kind of lifestyle are you after? What kind of workflow do you need?
Yes.
Oh, you don't need a standardized desktop. We probably need to get you a laptop. Oh, we probably need to get you a workstation laptop or a PowerBook because you're doing SQL queries on this at home, testing out in an environment. We should probably get you this kind of processor. Oh, you're a creative labs person. Maybe we make an exception for you and get you a MacBook Pro because we know
Yeah.
that artistic types like the MacBooks and they tend to work better on Macs. So let's find a way to design a solution around this rather than just slapping down a Lenovo onto your desktop.
And we build this education or this skill set through experience. That's the thing about teenagers, right? When you're in high school, you start out as a sophomore maybe, and it's all new. It's all just so overwhelming. But by the time they get through junior year and especially starting the senior year, my experience was this hubris, this I know everything. It was my personal experience too. It really really grows because at that point they really have kind of taken charge and they can see within the scope of what's going on. They do know a lot, or they may have experienced it, and sometimes it's just that maturity level. They leave high school and all of a sudden they realize the world's a whole lot bigger place. All right. And that goes on. So you can get there, but do you really want to live your life like a teenager every day? Do you really want to?
A lot of people live their
They do.
entire lives as teenagers blaming other people. Like I tell my kids about this all the time. Like the biggest flaws that say they have is blaming other people. Mm-hmm. And not understanding the situation, saying, how can I change this for the better? So as a good engineer will fix something. A great engineer will look at the context, think, how can I help the situation and where's my place in it? So we go from in our careers from being this person who knows how to do something to somebody who knows best practices on how to do something to mentoring people and saying, oh, let me teach you how to do this thing. Yeah. And I feel like there's a fourth stage where you're sitting there going, they really need to figure this one out for themselves. and you're watching, I need to let them fail here because, but then there's a lot of people who do not enter into those last three steps. They already know what's happening. And if it fails, it must be because somebody else interrupted the process. Somebody else did something that stopped me from being successful. And I think that's how a lot of people live their lives, their entire life. And so you have engineers who say, why isn't my client buying my stuff? Because they don't see any value in it. You're not relating the solution to what they're trying to accomplish. But I'm giving them the best thing. That's correct. You're giving them the best environment for that piece of technology. But what's the context in the business?
Yes.
Well, they need a firewall. That's not context. That's a solution. Yep. That is a technical solution. You are replacing a firewall. What is the business context of that? Learn. What and you need to do. Add context. Like, what the right thing to do is. Now learn how to apply this in context and then teach other people what you know and let them teach you what they know.
And that learning, you can do that two ways. I mean, there's the hard way and the easy way, right? And I think technical people, too many times we've conditioned ourselves to kind of learn it the hard way. And it may not always be hard, but lots of times when you're programming or you're configuring something, right? You put in what you think it should work and it doesn't. And so you go in there and you start tweaking it, and you're trying. All right, that didn't work, and so I try this. Oh, that didn't work. I try this. Oh, that worked. There we go. Now I've learned. And you might look it back and go, okay, why did this work? Okay, and you move on. But that is fundamental, I think, to technology skill set. But that is categorically the hard way. All right, we're just learning through essentially trial and error. Now, real quick, I learned a really painful lesson just a couple of weeks ago.
Oh no.
Oh yes, and
It's a
by painful,
pool.
uh, no, yeah, by painful I mean literally painful. All right.
Okay.
So I am starting my day, a little bit of breakfast, a little bit of coffee. It's time to get going, so it's time for more coffee, right? So I'm heading downstairs. I've got an empty bowl in one hand and an empty coffee mug in the other, and my dog comes along behind me. All right, and sure enough, knocks my feet right underneath me while I'm on the stairs. So down I go really hard, bounce a few more steps down. I'm still feeling the pain from that deal now. So today, and every day since then, the dog goes down the stairs before me, not after me. All right. I learned a painful lesson. And, we don't have to learn it that way. I know that's a silly deal, but you can choose to learn things two different ways. And if you learn leveraging the skill set of others, if you're listening to your clients and their needs, and then combining that with what you're going to learn to conquer and achieve things at a much faster pace, and probably at a much less painful occurrence as well, if you'll simply leverage what others can bring to your engagements.
Yeah, I tell people my number one piece of advice for any person is to find a mentor. Somebody that you will listen to that will help guide you through decisions in life. Like, I have multiple mentors in different areas, spiritual, business, personal, and each of them have a way of explaining things to me so that I grow. Because you tend to lie to yourself. And when you're in business, you tend to lie to yourself that you have all the answers, but it's because you don't have context. You have all the answers for the information that you have been given. Just like your clients have the answers for the information they've been given. They know how to run oil fields. They don't know there is a better way to communicate across those oil fields because no one's ever taught them this. Because the person who's responsible for teaching them has not been invited to the business conversation. Because that person that should be in the business conversation, the technician, is not teaching them. They're not mentoring. They're just telling people, I need to do this. They're still at that level 1 activity. I know how to do. I don't know how to mentor. And so this IT person comes in and they get told what to do. You will replace this firewall. You replace this PC. If they get part of that conversation, if you allow the business to mentor you on what they're doing, you can find out what their goal is. And then you can start adding context to your solutions. And you'll find out that you're a lot wiser than you were before.
Yes.
Because you relied on other people's insights and allowed them to sink into yourself and how to do things better. And if you do that in your personal life and in your business life, if you start accepting wise people outside of you, even if you may disagree with them, accept the feedback and apply it. And if you see things going wrong, why aren't my clients buying my solutions? Why aren't they listening to me? Stop and think. It may not be the client that's the problem. Find a mentor and ask them, why don't my clients listen to me? Well, because of this. Why, as a teenager, ask yourself, why are my friends, or why are they angry at me? Well, talk through that. Talk through it with somebody who is socially adept. Find somebody who is really good at navigating social landscapes and say, hey, you know what? I have a hard time making friends, or I have a hard time, doing this, or there's this thing I want to do with my life and I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to get there.
Yeah.
Or here's my plan. What do you think about it? So in an IT guy, like, hey, I think that my client should be doing these things, but they're not listening to me. And asking like a mentor, like a Skip, go around and find one. There's a million of them in the IT world. Somebody who's actually been there, not one of the charlatans, one of the people who's actually been in the trenches and can say, here's how I changed the mindset. And then they can walk you through that and be open to mind to the fact that you're probably doing something very wrong. It's probably you. It's not them. In my life, I have succeeded because I took personal responsibility for when things went wrong. I could say I got fired because my manager was a jerk. Instead, say I got fired because my manager was a jerk and I gave them permission to do it.
Yeah.
And what did I do to do that?
Yeah.
And so that changes now empowers you to do something. Why isn't my client listening to my solutions? Because I'm pitching bad solutions, or is it because I am not listening to them?
Yep.
And I think
that manager experience. Yeah. That manager deal, that, you got fired because you got a bad manager, or you got fired because you didn't deal with a bad manager appropriately. There's lots of bad managers.
That's a big piece of wisdom, everybody.
Yes.
You will have bad managers.
Absolutely.
How do you deal with them?
That's it. So I guess maybe the wrap up on this is don't run a teenage business, right? Grow beyond being a teenager, and because I think we all went through that to certainly various degrees. But you leave high school and you hit the real world, and all of a sudden that sphere of possibilities, challenges, all that stuff just explodes, right? And we learn a lot in those years. And you have to, I think, consciously decide that your business, your relationships, your engagements, are going to go beyond that teenage sort of scope of, oh, I got all this, I'm hot stuff. I can do it all. You need to understand. That's it. You may be hot stuff and you may be able to do it all, but does it actually get you what you want? And to get to what you want, you're going to have to understand that it is a bigger world than what you might have thought.
It is. That the litmus test for if you are arrogant is if you think you have the right solution. Mm-hmm. There should be some doubt in there that you're missing something.
Yep.
And by having a mentor, by having somebody outside who can tell you you're doing this wrong, or here's how you can tweak this to be better, and saying, you know what? It's frustrating to hear that, but I'm going to integrate that into my life. It's going to take me a little while, but I'm going to get there. Mm-hmm. And so learning and listening and adapting to the situation is how you're going to work it. You cannot change other people, but you can listen to other people and adapt so that you work together better. So that's the goal of business. What are they doing? What are they trying to accomplish? Yes, they're trying to make money, but how? Do you understand? You probably don't, because even as a business owner, I'm still trying to figure out how we make money and how this works and adapt to the marketplace. And so if you know all the answers, please give me a call, schedule some time on my calendar, and teach me all the answers.
Yes, absolutely.
Or we can sit down together and figure out better answers. Everybody thinks they're the wisest person today, and they think that they were dumb yesterday. Well, what does the person 5 years from now think of you?
Yeah.
Find a mentor who's there to give you advice.
That's it.
Because people always talk about, if I could have given myself advice 10 years ago, what would it be? The trick to that question is there are people today who have that wisdom who can help you get a 10-year advantage on your life.
Don't do it the hard way.
Find the goal of your business. Listen to your clients. Listen to your employees. Learn from them. Stop thinking you have all the answers, and you will reach your goals together. And that's the point of this. Ask questions, learn, get mentors, find out what your clients' goals are so you can align with them, not them aligning to your tech stack.
That's it.
Thank you, Skip. I love this topic. We revisit every once in a while. And I think the last time we talked about this is called The Value of Authenticity. So check out that podcast as well. And we will see you all next week.
See you.